going on,
Hey,
Matt?
hey, buddy.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Right
You
on.
dressed up. Is it cold up there?
So I'm sitting in the in a different room. If you can see, that kind of looks out over an atrium.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of windows there, and because there's not as many tenants in the building, it's colder. So we got the little portable heater in here and everything. This is our sales. This is our sales floor. So those guys all walked out while I'm doing this, but I'm in. So we're in the Board of Trade building.
Nice. Is that where your other office was?
It's the other offices behind us where all the programmers are sitting, and Mike and a bunch of other people. I just took the sales floor over here so we could have just a regular good old sales floor and hear the phone calls and talk to everybody.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that way, as you know, if you're sitting around listening to other people, you pick up more sometimes listening to other people and what they're saying than you do hearing it later from what they heard that they said, right?
That's what I was telling the guy yesterday about. He was asking about trading lumber, and I said, "Where do you get your information?" I said, the advantage of being a department head is you kind of have to listen to everybody's. Like you want to know what your other traders are saying, like what are your mills saying, what are your customers saying. But when you're like an independent single trader by yourself, you don't have the responsibility. You tend not to do that.
Yeah, you have to listen to what everybody else is saying, because you pick up so much. I pick up so much information that I don't normally get by listening to the whole team around me, and help them make better decisions. So it's pretty, I've lived off of that for my whole life, right?
Yep.
I mean,
I agree.
our whole market kind of does. I mean, this is one of the reasons why these big trading floors a lot of times are successful, because a smart person on a trading floor has their ears open and listens to everything and doesn't talk as much.
Yeah.
Because you can pick up on a lot of good information doing that. So good to finally be back doing some stuff. Sorry about last week. I had a bunch of things going on, but good to be back in the mix of stuff. Matt, I wanted to so everybody, welcome to Lunch with Lumbermen with Matt Lehman from Lehman's Lumber Guide, Ashley Buckholt Materials Exchange, first digital platform in the industry. Wanted to kind of just introduction. Let's talk a little bit about the market, then maybe we'll switch over to your report. Was talking to a few people on the way in. Housing starts permits today down slightly. Single family though up a little bit. Look like.
Multifamily off.
Multifamily off. The interesting thing I see is still the large amount of single family homes under construction.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that is I wish there was a stat somewhere where you could take those homes under construction and break it down to sold versus unsold, right? So you could look at how much of that inventory being built has a buyer with a down payment on it or something. Because the big thing we're hearing out here now is, I was talking to a big builder, a big national builder last week, and he said, I think historically margin on big tract homes is about 10% historically. Does that make sense? And
I thought it was about 25.
Maybe it was 25, but I thought some said they got north of 30%.
Yeah.
In the market. So they had a lot of wiggle room to negotiate down vendors and to cut prices, right? But these home builders, they can either cut prices, but you have to be careful doing that, because if you have X amount of outstanding people that put a down payment on something, you can't cut them below that down payment, otherwise, or even they'll walk away. Or they can do buy downs, right?
Yeah.
Where a buy down simply makes your payment less than a mortgage due to certain advantages or buy downs in the rate. And
you basically still, no matter what you call it, cutting the price of the house or giving you $6,000 to buy down your rate, it's still a cutting the price of the house. It's what you have to bring to the game.
It is. And it's not as invasive as slashing the axe price, where you actually have people that already have skin in the game that got to buy it. Like if you have a $500,000 house and you cut it by 100, if somebody put 20,000 down, they're going to walk away from that probably.
Yeah. And you also have this disappointment factor in the whole subdivision. Like everybody that's bought it a year ago and paid its prices, now all of a sudden they see the just without even offering the house for sale, it's worth $100,000 less just because of the new pricing.
Sure.
And not a lot you can do about that.
No doubt. I mean, just like anything in life, right? If you bought a Tesla 6 months ago, a new one's $20,000 cheaper now, right?
You bought a Bitcoin at $65,000, you're just sick.
That's true. Good point. Well, so market wise, let's jump on. If I'm in a different room from Nick, but if Nick can hear me, let's jump on to the 12-month, the 2x4 composite on the front page. If we could take a look at that, let's just get our bearings for where we're at in the market right now. And he may have a delay in what he said. There we go. Let's get the
next page.
Next page. There we go.
I've done a little bit of formatting change here. We replaced started this week, the midweek briefing, which comes out today on Thursday mornings. Actually be coming out Wednesday mornings in the future. No, it's Tuesday mornings in the future. Is our I'm confused now. The briefing for the one you just got. We replaced the briefing with the scouting report because they were kind of redundant. But we really got an effort going in place to try to offer another pricing solution for the entire industry. So we're going to expand the scouting report a little bit and make that available to the industry at no charge. But what we won't do is, you'll notice that the FTP on this graph right here only goes out about 6 weeks. So what we're going to save for the membership is the longer term 6 month or 12-month forecast with the FTP showing in advance, so you can kind of plan ahead. This is just more of a short-term look at it, but got to say something for the people who pay.
Well, let's just talk a little bit too. I was reading on your front page today about the market analysis, very dangerous lumber market. So maybe talk a little bit about that, Matt, what you're seeing out there. People probably are looking at this market right now, seeing a few things, confusion with new homes. I mean, look at this market is interesting because people are either too bullish and actually are very bullish or very bearish, right? And it never seems to be any between ground, does there? And
no,
I think everybody ran their stuff down pretty low, and it's tough to time stuff, et cetera, but it now seems to me everybody's getting really bullish again, talking about lumber futures being a big premium. You got to put basis trades on and all that. And I don't know how much buy-in I got right now, Matt. What's your thought on stuff?
Well, my first thought is this, like, okay, everybody's gone from bearish to kind of neutral, don't know one way or the other. They're trying to be bullish right now. It's clearly position talking. And you can't blame people. Your expectation for business is not that it's going to be better in January and February, but your outlook on lumber market is more bullish simply because you own it.
So true.
It makes sense. Like, I mean, if you're going to be bullish on lumber, why not be bullish at 350? I can see, the futures market at, $90 higher, kind of hard to be bullish at that kind of premium. But at $350, and the Canadian mills particularly are losing money at this number, they're not going to keep doing it. At some point, it's going to stop. But meanwhile, you got a futures premium that's $90 in there. How do you can't buy that thing? So you got to be short futures, long cash, which is a basis trade, or just one or the other. But if you're looking for something without risk in it, you just got to buy $350 2x4s and put them on the ground.
Yeah, because I think people. One of the guys commented. I think it was either on your show and my show, talking about basis one time. He's like, "Hey, $100 nowadays in these markets where you have big moves may not be enough to make money, because when you think about it, you still have to sell that lumber at the cash price. So if the market reverses and goes down, you're making money on your futures, but best bid you can only get is $100 below the print price to get rid of it. You're not making anything on your basis."
Yeah, and people don't have that. It's funny that, like you said, people are kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth. You don't expect that that's going to happen, but they're not really willing to put their money where their mouth is and buy a whole bunch of it and load the boat. But I keep hearing people talking about particularly brokers, I guess, more than anybody else, about how the market's so underbought. But I'm not seeing that from the guys that I've talked to. My tribe is, what I call a tribe, is covered probably through March and looking at April. Everybody's at least covered through February, so there's not a lot of need out of and my sampling is granted a smaller than market share, but it's good representative sampling. So I don't think the market is underbought as people think, and I just don't see a lot of follow through from the guys that I'm talking to.
What's that saying, Matt? When you're a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So
Yeah.
look at, I've been a broker in my life and got a bunch of friends that are brokers. Love them. I get what they do. It's a tough job, and some of them do very well at it. But I mean, every time I've been on a floor, they always tell you it's a good time to buy, right? It's a good time to buy. For the last 6 months, people have been saying it's a good time to buy. I don't think there's less downside risk, and that's true. There's no doubt about it. But it's a broken record, it seems like a lot of times, right? Now, what you need to look at is what are the best items to buy sometimes. And I think you and I have talked about certain things like OSBs kind of seems to be one of those things that maybe it's a good time to buy some of that stuff. Let's bring up the OSB chart and take a look at it. But anyway, I kind of went off on a little thing there. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are always saying it's a good time to buy. I think when you can find a good partner is one that tells you when it's not time to buy too, right?
Yeah, we said this about 3 weeks ago. We were kind of preemptively saying anything in OSB that you can buy in the 100s, anything in lumber you can buy in the 200s FOB mill, regardless of what it was, you got to buy it. Even if it's something that you don't sell, buy it, just sit it on the yard and use it as an investment. Because if you think about the stock market giving you even a 10% return on your money, you can easily get that kind of money with inventory on the ground in the lumber market in months, weeks sometimes. But it's certainly not an investment you got to sit on for a year.
So it's interesting. I was just talking to Mike about this. What we were talking about is putting together a list of like 30 reloads in the United States and where their capacity is at, because I've got some people out having me look for reloads for them right now because they can't find reloads to use. And I called a couple on the East Coast and they're like, yeah, we have some outside storage, but all of our inside storage is committed for the next 2 years, right? So if you could get a compilation of all that, and what that tells me is there's a bunch of people putting wood on the ground at places right now, right?
Yeah, and you don't know. It'd be interesting to find out who they are too. Not only are they producers, are they wholesalers, are they speculative? Wholesale distributors, are they retail lumberyards, truss plants, treaters?
This particular one was a VMI for a truss producer coming from one mill. So this mill just ships them a whole bunch of lumber. And when they have it ready, if they're not selling it, they send it to this reload, and then they price it to him when he needs it, right? So they have a blow-off valve when they can't sell it to their regular customers, and they ship it there, and they load this reload up, and then he can just buy out it based on a certain formula he's got.
Yeah, it sounds like an ideal kind of situation, but the mill hasn't done anything. The mill still hasn't transferred its risk. It's just moved, just increased its unsold position.
Well, so when they can't sell at a better price, they blow a lot of that extra wood into there to get it off the trading floor, right?
And at $300, $350 is probably a smart thing to do because
I think so. I think so. And there's a lot of those deals going on. I mean, I think I hear a lot more of this VMI. So a couple of the big now the big players that have consolidated a lot are going to some of these big mills, and some of the big Western mills are taking it on where they don't want to buy commodity lumber. They want them all to put it on the ground at their locations now and do VMI now. So we're going from a spot market deal to and you know how you and I were talking about how a lot of these contracts would disappear. I don't know how much they are. I think a lot of these places got so big, they have a hard time buying spot market because they have buyers all over. They're trying to go package deals now with these big mills and just put wood on the ground.
Exactly.
We're becoming the pulp market where everything will be priced off of a print plus or minus.
And that creates for our listening audience, that creates a great opportunity for those of you guys that are speculative investors in the market, because that means that if you've got a VMI program, that means your lumber that you buy is at the market all the time. You never get a chance to speculate and have it right. It's good in a falling market because you don't get creamed with falling prices, but in a rising market, you leave all that money on the table. And the whole purpose of what we're kind of trying to do is teach people how to play the market. They don't really kind of play the market, but trade the market and take advantage of these repeating cycles that are like right now. You can look at this chart for OSB, and it looks like it should be going up strong, but that's the seasonal tendency. But if you're thinking about whether you should buy OSB and put it in a warehouse, you can see that between now and the next 3 or 4 months, the market's going to probably work its way a little higher. And having not rallied so far this year, that means that we're behind and we're going to get a later turn. Things are just going to happen a little later in the year. So, buying OSB right now and holding it for like May is probably a slam dunk.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing I've heard with OSB, Matt. So everybody I talk to in the secondary market, not any mills directly, they all say, hey, our mills all told us they're taking downtime, but they're not going to announce it. Our mills all told us they're going to cut back production, but they're not going to announce it. Isn't it amazing how all the mills say that at the same time?
Yeah, and they're all telling the same story to the same people, which is wholesale.
Yeah, and then everybody repeats it and repeats it, and I wonder if any wood ever actually comes off the market.
Well, what it does, it gets people to buy. Like right now, I know one company is buying 75 car. It's just 1 yard buying 75 carloads of OSB just to hold on to for a big run at the end of the year. And one of my local guys that him, he comes on the show quite frequently. I think he's buying 20 truckloads, and he's just a one yard show. And he's going to buy 20 extra trucks. So there are people that are making the play anyway.
Yeah, no, and I think they're making it so, and I think some have already made it, right, and have made the play. And I haven't seen the price move as much as I thought it was going to from everybody making the play. I thought it would get more of a bump than that, but maybe it has in some places. I just haven't. I'm not as tied into that as much. Yeah,
I think probably OSB's up maybe $20 from its rock bottom number. That's not a big deal, but we talked about 9-foot studs three weeks ago about how $250 you just got to close your eyes and buy it. And those things are up $75 in a couple of weeks, so that would have been a good play.
Yeah, not only so you said there's the print price, then there's the low trade price too, right? The low trade price is gone, and then everything is up off of that. Well, no doubt. So, what are you hearing as far as builders out there go? Your multifamily people, you had a good point. You said that a lot of the multifamily people have stuff booked through first quarter, getting into second quarter. Now, I'm noticing the same thing from the same people you and I talked to.
I know contractor yards that have stuff that's sold for fourth quarter delivery, and it's been on their yard for a month. They just bought it because it was they had the money, and it's just an investment in themselves, really, which is a smart thing to do. But my question is still kind of lingers: is what about space and cash flow? If you got wood that you're not going to build for another 9 months, and it's going to sit on the yard, that's dead space, dead money, dead wood. But you're going to get it, and it's locked in the profit. But how many times could you have turned that inventory if you didn't do that?
Yeah, no doubt, Matt. And I think as you've said before, when people say, well, when is a good time to buy? I think anytime you have a pretty good margin locked into stuff and you have enough space and enough money to do it, obviously, I'm not trying to be Captain Obvious here, but that's a good time to buy, right?
Yeah, obviously when you got money in it, but and you also, I think a lot of people are. I read this thing last week. We were talking about how human beings tend to overweight negative events in their life more than positive events in their life. And you think about like the birth of a child versus the death of a loved one. And we tend to hang on to the unhappy moments more than the happy moments longer than normal. The same thing happens in the lumber market. Is the bullish trends are never going to run as long as they are, and downtrends are going to run longer. It's just the nature of how we are. But you can see it in the marketplace right now. They've got bottled inventory. The market's been bought for the last couple of weeks, but still nobody's really overwhelmingly run away, close your eyes, just buy it and bullish. They become skeptical of it and doubtful of the move until you get a print that gives you some money in it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna bank that. But just there's still so much confusion and uncertainty about direction that keeping the market from getting.
Matt, you talk to a lot of treaters, and they're one of the big drivers on pine. What are you hearing on the treating side? Are they building an inventory? Are they not building an inventory?
Yeah, there's kind of a combination of trying to get ready for those contract orders for the spring they haven't gotten yet because they know they're coming. But some treaters were just had nothing because they were waiting on those confirmed orders. But a couple of weeks ago, I think a couple of buying groups had suggested to their dealers that they'd go out and buy. And that's the two people that I heard have probably had 700-800 yards between the two buying groups. So you put 500-600 people out looking for treated lumber. It doesn't matter what Lowe's and Home Depot are doing. You got that many people that are throwing out 10 or 20 trucks to buy. And so the treaters got a little bump from that, but they also started to build a little inventory in anticipation of just a spring uptick. So it's kind of a perfect storm of everything in pine getting a little bit of action, but not a whole lot. But it was better than it was before. So we got probably a $50 up move in Southern pine the last few weeks.
So speaking of pine, one of the things that got everybody so excited last week, that mill in Florida that curtailed.
Yeah.
What was your feedback on that? I'm guessing, and I don't know anything about it. I just think, was that an older?
It's a 2x4 mill that ships to Southern Florida and Central Florida.
Okay.
You think about logistically, they're geographically in a place where they have to ship to Florida. They can't or South Georgia because they got such a freight disadvantage going north, but they have a freight advantage going south. So most of that wood goes to Florida, and I think it was just out producing what the need was. It was a 2x4 mill, so it was very dependent on truss manufacturers, and the volume just isn't there. And it is an older mill. I think it was one of the older Gilman paper mills that West Fraser bought, and probably did not do a lot of upgrading to it. But
so I'm sure they did the accounting on it and figured out what the cost of production is, where the other mills were closer, and if they could actually make more money or lose less money by shutting that down. Nobody ever shuts a mill down unless if it's going to make money.
Yeah, they're also, if you think about timber base, they're on the southern end of good timber supply too. So they're on the cusp of it. So they're probably paying a little more for timber because they're not in the right in the depths of where the big timber is. But it's kind of like in northern North Carolina, timber prices are higher.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point. I saw something yesterday on LinkedIn. Maybe it was Russ Taylor talking about and I think you just mentioned it here. So you're going to see more of the high cost BC mills close more, but over time we've seen more Southern pine take over for that. But it'll be interesting to see what else goes on the Canadian side. It seems like there's still potentially some announcements yet to be made there, or maybe they're just doing it, not saying anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and here's another thing. I thought about this yesterday. Timber prices in BC are coming down drastically in the first quarter. I mean, they're down already. But, based on where the price of lumber is, probably the first half of the year is going to be much lower cost. So and I don't know the break even. Russ could probably talk to us about that. But if 550 was the break even number based on lumber prices that were in the $600 to $700, the price of timber is going to be a lot lower this quarter, next quarter. So the incentive to shut down because you're losing money is going to be neutralized a little bit just in the price of timber. But the volume of fiber is not going to really change. It's not going to be increased, but the cost to get it's going to be less.
Yeah, Matt, I think one of the real wild cards you and I have talked about is when is that billions of dollars going to be negotiated back that's been held in Treasury that we've been collecting coming across the border, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be going. You kind of went like, is that number just going to be slipped into the budget somewhere, or is it going to get distributed to the members of the coalition, or who that is? I don't know what happens to the money. I really don't know.
Well, generally, the history has been on all these settlements. I'm going to throw it. 80% of it goes back to the people that put it in, and then the rest of it gets split up. Right now, with that said, that's billions and billions of dollars going back to some big companies, right? That certainly helps things, and I would think at this point they'd be talking about a settlement. I haven't heard anything on it, but it'd be interested if somebody hears something about that. That I would have to think there's been some discussion on that.
But and even when it does, it's not going to affect the lumber market at all. It's going to be money that gets pumped back into the checking account or does not. But it's not going to say, well, there's a big slush fund of money to go lower prices off of.
There's Russ just put something in the bleep blooper here. It says BC SPF sawmill costs should come down into the low to mid US 450s as the stumpage comes down by Q2. Great feedback, Russ, and good to see you.
And Russ, isn't that about $100 lower than where you were talking about a few months ago?
Yeah, because Russ is usually pretty dialed in with this. I saw he was at a conference yesterday talking about this up there about pulp and lumber, and it was, if anybody gets a chance to read it, it's a good read. Listen to those guys. That's great feedback. So mid to low 450s as the stumpage comes down. Where's that CME trading at right now, Matt?
438, something like that. It's up about $10 today, and I think that's what I understand is the short funds rolling and getting out.
And Russ said yes, I think in response to your answer, Matt, if that was about 100 below. So guys, great. Russ, thank you so much for your input there. That really helps significantly. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a continued tough slog for the guys up in Canada to, and I feel for those guys because they got a lot of headwinds, but it's amazing they can produce what they produce at the cost they produce it at, because they're pretty good at doing what they do. That's why they took over a lot of the Southern pine mills and do it too, right?
That's true. It doesn't, the southern pine trees don't cut like the spruce trees do. I think they got a little shock when I think the return on some of these mills probably didn't turn out to be as good as the Canadian mills thought, because it just it's a different product to make. It's just not what they're used to doing. So they got to make it.
So Matt, without giving too much information away, we kind of took your advice and are getting some of our new team to get more of the sell side on here, so we can start establishing some more new numbers on the platform.
I think that's definitely a way to go. Just the more you offer the people, the more you have to pick from, the more people are going to come and look at it.
It's so we launched our new platform on Monday, and so you can only imagine we're working through a few bugs, but we're starting to. The whole tech team is in here right now, so every time we get a phone call, something doesn't work right, we're banging away at all those right away. So by the end of the week, we should be 100% going on stuff. But
is the platform going to be web based? Is it like you got to load it out?
Web based, yeah, web based. You don't have to download anything.
Is there anything new that people should know about how to get to it, or?
So we're going to send out. So we started doing it with a lot of the friendly users that could take some time and do it with us. And then we're going to launch and send out an announcement either today or tomorrow that shows all the other people they're signing information. And so we can call and spend time with each one of them individually. Because
so what would you say to people that today that are listening that are still lookers and haven't participated? What's the difference in the program going to be? And
so what the difference looks
this isn't a setup. Actually, didn't send me up to ask that question. I was just
no. I will tell you right now. The way it looks differently is I have on my phone. I have two trading programs for stocks. I have E-Trade and I have Robinhood. And the old platform looked like E-Trade. The new platform looks more like a Robinhood type. It's how can I say, more fun and user friendly. You could tell a bunch of progressive kids that know a lot about programming stuff and know what they like to see put it together. It looks really awesome.
Is there how do you get to the? Is there a way to get? You guys still got to call in and get registered and.
Yes, if you go to mxlbr.com or materialsexchange.com, you can register. It'll redirect to our new website, and you'll get a login credentials. But the new site, and especially once we get all the bugs out and 100% running, is going to be user friendly. I like to use the term gamification. It's going to be fun to look at it. You automatically, as a buyer, get a sell side without having two different sign-ins. You can flip back and forth and look at both of them.
Cool.
And here's the real easy thing, Matt. Before, we didn't own the software. We own the software now. So if, for instance, Matt, if you say you want something on it that's not on there, we can program it overnight. Before, it used to be a 3-month thing and cost $20,000 to fix it.
So does everybody have to re-register, or your current login going to work?
No, if you're currently registered, you have a new login we have to send you, but it's also easy now to register because you can create your own login.
It's mxlbr.com.
Yeah. So don't tell anybody if it doesn't register, it doesn't direct you to it, because there's been a couple of people that haven't been directed to it this morning.
Okay. I'm asking for myself because I haven't updated or looked. I just want to see what it looked like.
Yeah, no worries with it. So with that said, it was good. It was good chatting today, Matt. I'll get back a little bit better into the groove of things. I kind of did a haphazard or a half-assed thing for you here today, but I want to make sure I spend more time. What I do want to ask you, how is your your scouts doing out there? What's going on with that, and what's going on with
it's interesting that I can tell when the market's getting busier because they're very unresponsive. So it's just thanks to those guys for kind of giving me the heads up, and by your lack of responsiveness, sometimes I can tell what you're doing, but or your eagerness to respond tells me how you're doing too. So I've got about 39 people right now. I'm getting ready to make a cut down to about 10, and some people that expressed an interest that haven't really been following through. So I'd like to get about 20 folks that are just, if you have a specialty in Southern Pine or OSB or Eastern Western Spruce, Western Fir, whatever your specialty is, and you'd like to contribute to the scouting report and the Layman's Lumber Guide, I can make it worth your while for a free subscription to the scouting report. And so if you're interested in taking a look at it, just scouting report, scoutingreport.com, Layman's Guide at scoutingreport.com.
Yeah, I have it on my desk all the time, and I refer to it all the time, Matt, because it's really between looking at the platform and the numbers that I don't have on the platform. Sometimes I look at in this business, if you don't have a benchmark number to look at, it's kind of an issue, right? Because everything starts from that.
Especially if your supplier knows you don't have a benchmark.
Oh man, totally. Hey, question for you I was just thinking out loud here while we're talking on your, could you ever put anything on your site where people could request a quote from you on what a benchmark number is at all?
It's a good idea, but usually they don't have it. I don't have it on there, but
yeah. No, I'm just because then people would ask for a bunch of obscure things too. I'm sure, but I'm sure they ask you anyway.
I don't want to spend my time with 50 emails and phone calls a day.
Yeah, that's good. Good point. Good point. I know.
350.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for the time. When's your next mountain house vacation?
I think I'm on the hiatus till the summer, but we'll find out. But got to go somewhere different. I'm tired of the mountain house.
All right. Well, good deal. I appreciate the time today. We'll be back on this again next Thursday. And thank you everybody for showing up. A big thanks to you, Russ. I appreciate all your input all the time on these. You're a really great resource in the industry. And between you and Matt, I get a lot of information from both of you. So thank you both of you. And we'll look forward to doing this next week, Matt.
Keep swapping notes.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you all for coming.
Yep.